I'm Trek with 2Ks.
Okay. Uh all right. Got it. I see what I did wrong. I think that's what I did wrong. I think. No, that is not what I did wrong. Huh. Assign participants to scenes. Okay. All right. Got it. I see what I did wrong. I think. Okay, figured it out. Oh God. All right. Yeah, you don't do this for a while and then you forget how the buttons work and it's a downhill from there. Nonetheless, let's start this back off again. Hola, hola, buenos dias, GnGs. My name is Trekkw2ks. I sound a little stuffy because I am kind of under the weather right now. But the basic idea of the Trekkw2ks Live is I go through Twitter and I kind of play into talking about crypto stuff. Now, if you've been following me, I want to say probably for the last year, because I took off a fair chunk amount of time in 2024, and then I jumped back into 25, and here we are again, X number of weeks and months into 26, and I'm having the same feeling and thought process that I was having in 24 and 25 about the space. And today, going through, some of the Twitter posts, it was kind of the same deal of just like um, not to say kind of the same deal. It was the same deal of on the tech side of it, n- there's any news that I find interesting, excuse me, or like relevant to the tech side, or like something that's just like, okay, here's what's showing us that crypto is still, or crypto Bitcoin is still like about the public. And when you use that filter, damn near nothing that's coming out is is making it through the filter. Now, granted, I caught one or two things, yeah, but like even in those, like those eventually get into the money thing. And we're gonna jump into hold on, no, that's not what I wanted. Jump over. All right. So let's jump into this one. Let me do a little adjustment on this side. Yeah. So for example, seeing this one today, right? Um Watcher Guru, for those of you who've been following me for a minute, I talk about this particular channel as far as a news source or information source, more of, so that you can like cross reference stuff. There's a couple of different Twitter accounts that I pay attention to, and you know, I, I cross reference what they put up with each other to see like how much sense does it make, who's kind of giving more detail than the other, or is it just we all running the same copy, and the whole point is to just like get people in a verbal massage, like, or the echo chamber. And yeah. So this first story, as you see, is for the famous steak and shake, steak burgers. Apparently, um, now the devil's in the details in this, right? The devil's in the details in how this this sentence reads. Steak and Shake says its sales have risen dramatically since it started accepting Bitcoin payments. Now, I don't know what year they started that. I don't know if that was just within this last quarter. I don't know if that was just within this year of 2026. But when you tell me, "Oh, you are making an increase in Bitcoin," like where did you what a I don't want to say realistic, but if they did it last year, because we aren't far into enough to this year to really get like, oh, hey, you know, we know what the numbers look like for the quarter. We know what the numbers look like for the 30-day. And usually you don't get the 30-day stuff like that out to make a statement like this. But since it's a statement like this, it probably means we're talking about last quarter or the third quarter of 2025, right? But again, devil in the detail of the price of Bitcoin was how high then? How so give me the breakdown of what was the percentage of your users, aka customers, who opted to use Bitcoin when it was higher than it is right now versus cash. Like that's the funny gray area of, so you're saying that your sales overall went up at the storefronts because people were using Bitcoin over cash. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that they also run with DoorDash, and I forget the other food service place. And I don't think those take crypto. So it's one of those, I get how you're selling the sizzle, but I don't really believe it. I don't really believe it. Nonetheless, this is what mass adoption looks like, right? We're gonna, from a marketing standpoint, the marketing department was like, yo, we need to spin this to where like it sounds like we're in with the cool kids. We're doing something crypto Bitcoin related. And that's what this reads to me. And again, um, what is their actual numbers? We might not get that until the end of this year. And then it will be with a revision. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially now that the price has dropped down, which I didn't even realize how much the price dropped down until I was looking at something, I think this weekend. And I was like, oh wow, didn't even know it was that low. Um, but yeah, so I wish I would have thought to um find his page. The Coin Bureau dude, I forgot his name. It's not Steve. He did a video the other day talking about how the crypto miners are getting out of the space and they're moving over into um, the AI side of things, right? Because ASICs do a specific thing and they do it very well, right? And so since the price of Bitcoin is dropping to what it's dropping, X amount of these large scale, like we're talking like, 500,000 plus square foot um facilities that had nothing but ASIC miners in them for crypto mining are now turning over to do the AI computation stuff, right? And one of the things that got me was, one, this has been going on for months. This was going on before the summertime of last year. Like companies were already doing what is it, memorandum of intention, um basically like the big companies were already making the move to go chase whatever the next dollar revenue stream was, right? Because the way that they were making the money before, if they were turning off their miners and then like or selling energy back to the grid, the numbers weren't mathing. So now it's, well, hey, we see that under this administration, there's about to be a bunch of money pushed into the space, and we already got the hardware. It's just a simple, conversion. And when I say simple, I'm kind of underplaying it. Like, it's not like the average day mom and pop person just gonna come in and be like, "Oh, just click the switch." Like, no, there's X amount of phases and technical process to it. But the idea that the conversion or the exiting of the major facilities, the corporations, I feel like we should have all seen that coming, because it was always about chasing the bag to begin with, right? It was always for them. It wasn't, crypto is for the people. It wasn't Bitcoin is for the people. It wasn't financial freedom, economic sovereignty, none of that stuff, right? They didn't give two licks about that. It was, oh, well, if we put in this amount of money, get these kind of power trade deals with the power source in that area, we could we could make this much money in return. And as long as the price point of Bitcoin stays at a certain level, we'll always be in the black, right? And now what's happening is the money that's being pushed into the AI space is seemingly making it where even though Bitcoin has not hit some of the numbers that like would go, oh, the return on running a S21, I think it's like between 35K and like 40 something, or like 30 and 45, whatever. I think we're still in the 60s. But because of the way the money's being pushed into the AI space, it doesn't matter that we're still in the 60s and we didn't actually touch the floor of being below 45, which is what those type of facilities need to run. Which then brings us to this other thing of, so what does that mean for the mom and pop folks? Oh, well, does that mean like mid-size mom and pop level garage, basement level folks? Oh, well, less machines or less ASICs or devices are competing for the reward. So this arguably opens it up to the mom and pop folks. But again, mom and pop folks where? You know what I'm saying? Mid-sized folks where? Because, and I was talking to somebody I know that's heavy on the mining side, heavy. And I said, am I wrong in that these companies that are here in the US, they will convert X amount of their newer stuff into the AI computation. But if they do sell stuff, it's just going to get dumped in overseas markets. And I was like, nah, that's exactly how it's going to play out. They're going to dump it into overseas markets at a wholesale, because who's going to be able to afford it over here? Not to mention, you have the issue going on with the power supply for the residential level at your state, regional level, where you're not going to get the same kind of deal that these companies, these facilities worked out with the power supplier. And now that they're going, and it's also crazy in that now that they're pushing into the AI space, they're probably going to get better power price point deals than when they were just doing the regular crypto stuff. How about that? How about that? They're going to get better deals on that side because they're doing AI versus doing Bitcoin. And nobody talked about that one, but whatever. Just one of those things that I note, I pay attention to. And what does it mean right now? I mean, it kind of means fuck all, because at the mom and pop level, what's going to mess you up? It's the price per kilowatt. And depending on what market you in, like there's no market that you're in right now as a residential level, regular Joe Schmo, Joe Jane, mom and pop, I want to run one in my basement or put it in the garage, where you're not going to get beat because of the power. Like your turnaround time, even if you throttle it, you're talking more than a year, 2 years, depending on what you got. It might be 3, 5. Now the question is, what does your event horizon look like? How dedicated are you to these ideals, right? And perfect segue into this post right here. No, that's not what I wanted. Perfect segue into this post. So, Kurt Wookchert Jr. Well, what a name. Sorry if I messed it up. When small blockers say Bitcoin can't be hijacked, they're kind of right. Because Bitcoin is secure as a technical system. What can be hijacked is people. Unfortunately, for Bitcoin, people control narratives, repos, exchanges, and the culture. But This is the same in all technical systems. Hackers don't hack systems, they hack people. And then they take over the system with impunity, just like they did with Bitcoin Core. Huh. There's a whole nother thing going on with the Bitcoin Core. Yo, has anybody been paying attention to Simon Dixon and the stuff that he's going on now? Mind you, if you paid attention to him earlier in the I don't want to say day, but um you know, he where he was in the beginning when he started making his face more um public. If you listen to how he was talking, like I feel like he had like the come to Jesus moment where it's just like, oh, I thought that if I did, I played by the rules and I followed like the trade file, like we'd be able to work this out. And it's like, no, they don't give two craps. But anywho, I'm not telling you who to listen to or whatever, but I would just say and highly recommend the whole thing of due diligence and cross-referencing folks. For what their talking points are and like how you understand this space and like I guess to say where things are going. And to this point, in regards to what Kurt said in the post, like, yeah, um, and it's not even just like a hackers who have bad malice or like hackers who operate with malice and ill intention and they are looking to actually do something quote illegal or bad. Like no, it's the people who are like, well, we want to keep this within the traditional framework or the traditional ideals of like money isn't meant to just be willy-nilly and open to the public as far as their influence and ability to store, save, spend it as they suit and please. Like money is a thing used to, yes, facilitate commerce, but it also is used in a what's the word I'm looking for? In a filtered or funneled way. Like yes, you can use the monetary, what is it, the currency as a system of, not a system of monetization, but you can use it in regards to being able to buy or spend on something. But with this, it's the, well, no, we want you to do it this way. We don't want you to do it the way you want to do it. We don't want you to do it outside of how we can watch or monitor you. We want you, and we're telling you that you have to do it within these left and right parameters or this confine. And so that between, and I don't even pay attention to all of his stuff like that now, but I will say the interviews he's been doing probably over the last 6 months is like damn near a 180 from when he first started coming out publicly in the space. Like when I tell you this shit is like a 180, it is like a 180. Who is this guy? Because mind you, he was one of the early people as far as like putting in on like Coinbase. He was like one of the early like angel investor type folks. And lo and behold, for where he is now, you would never think that's where he was in the beginning because of how he's talking now. And it's not me saying he's wrong or he's right. It's one of those like he's gone through his journey and it brought him to the conclusion that he's at now. As I've said over in many of these episodes, oh damn, that did not come out right. Nope. Yeah. So yeah, but I feel, and I've said this before, and this is also why I start running with that hashtag like crypto unk on the end of those of us who have been in the space for a while and like we were a part of that initial wave or generation or mindset of folks who are like, yeah, economic sovereignty and digital, freedom, blah blah blah. And when you look at what is going on now, like now they're talking about Discord wants to do a whole facial recognition thing, and then like Twitter is officially owned by, I forgot the dude's name, but it's still like a federally connected um um department on the back end that has to do with like data security. And they are flat out like, hey, new terms of service, man. New terms of service is this. Like, we have an indefinite right and access to the content that you put in on here. And that's including the drafts. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's just a couple episodes ago, I got into the whole thing about the digital panopticon and panopticon, sorry, the digital panopticon. And since then, I feel like I've just kind of been on the downhill of we're not seeing things get better in terms of digital freedom or these ideals that we had in the beginning of the space. And e- even if you just take out screw the whole crypto thing and just talk about the just in general of the liberties and the freedoms that we think we understand as human beings, as you know, conscious entities, and then getting into the more like corporeal framework of like, you know, as it is to be a US citizen and the dynamics of how the Constitution works and the Bill of Rights and like what are inalienable rights. Like, we're so like, I don't know if to say opposite of that, but it is very weird to me to see what's going on right now and go like, "Oh, everything is honky dory. Like, this is all cool." Or, you know what? Like, it doesn't I don't know, like, it doesn't matter. It matters. There's a lot of things going on, you know, within the government where you're just like, "Well, what does that have to do with this?" And it's like, I don't know exactly." And I'm not trying to get into the whole thing of like, you know, red team, blue team stuff. Um, Somebody made the point the other day. I was watching something and they were talking about how like we messed up when we got into political parties. If we would have just like worked at keeping it as a hey, let me hear what you're talking about. If that stuff sounds like it aligns with what I think is a helpful and meaningful way of bettering the lives of like American citizens, then all right, bet. I'll vote you in. But when we got coerced into the whole thing of political identities. I'm a liberal. I'm a conservative. I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat. We we lost that ability to like objectively see, are the policies and the things that these people are voting on and putting us in situations that basically always seem to end up costing the American public something, whether it be, you know, blood or lives. Well, money, blood, lives, attention, you know, debt. Um, we're no matter which side of what do they say, which side of the coin or the aisle you land on, like these folks are still moving in the same direction. So it's not even about the left or the right side of it, the red or the blue side of it. It's hey, you're voting on or you're proposing or you're renewing things that don't actually work in the interests of the American public. But then again, who knows? Like, I can't tell nobody nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm just some guy on the internet, not a financial advisor, not a CPA. Speaking of which, if you are in this American jurisdiction, it's that time of year, my friends. You might want to get that squared away because this American jurisdiction does not play. And yeah, so transition into Cointelegraph, one of the older crypto news websites in the space. And with that, they get into scammers are mailing fake treasure and ledger letters with QR codes that lead to a phishing site designed to steal users' crypto wallet recovery phrase. And think about this. Man, like they got the breach. How long ago was that? I don't remember how long ago that was, man. Getting trapped in the yes, 50 facts. Let me change the size of this so y'all can see this too, depending on what thing you're in. I should I put it over here. It might work better over here. Hopefully y'all can see that. Yeah, so Restream added a new feature where you can take the chat and like put it on screen with like the translucent background and stuff. Versus me having to go and pick the line every time. As long as nobody's out here doing craziness, then I think I could, run with this for a bit. But yeah, so like they had the what you call it situation. They had both of them at this point have had at least one data breach, right? And I mean, arguably this was just a matter of time before the ingenuitive hacker mind was like, hey, you know what, maybe we could just send out some letters and like let's see how many people actually respond to this. Like that's the funny thing about scamming is a numbers game. It's the it's the same thing in a different formatting of marketing, right? So for example, if I'm doing like cold calls, it's like, well, if I call 100 people a day, how many people can I get to fork over some amount of capital or give access to some amount of capital? Because like you're playing it in two ways, right? It's either you're going to have it where the odds are based on certain parameters that you'll come across somebody who has access to a relative high amount of capital. And then you have it where you play it the other way, where it's like, well, I have, let's say 200,000 numbers. If I do X number of these numbers a day in a week, at some point, I will hit a certain number of people who will actually, um, excuse me, share some of their capital with me. This is how the same thing works on the marketing side. Okay, well, I'm going to look for a specific demographic of individuals who meet a certain type of criteria that says they will spend X amount more than this other demographic of people. And if I target these people in particular, I have a higher chance of getting, let's say I have 1,000 people that I'm going at, maybe 2% of them. So, we'll give it, what is that? 1,000, let's say 200 of them will spend. And these are the higher end spenders versus when you do it the other way of I have 1,000 people. If I can at least get, let's say 5%, it's going to make up for how much time, energy, and effort. And granted, I'm throwing out random ass numbers, right? This is not hard math. But the point being is both sides of these systems, whether you're talking on the scamming side or on the marketing side, play off of the same principles. It's a numbers game. And you can two methods of attack on it. Are you doing targeted based on certain demographics, or are you doing it where you're just like, all right, I gotta like 500,000, numbers, bet. And in this case, all right, we got like, 200,000 like home addresses. Let's just send these things out and see what happens. I think the more interesting part is how they're doing, because at a certain point, like wherever you're sending from, because you can track the mail stuff for like where it started from. So like how did they get these into the post office? Was this like a bulk drop off of like, yo, we're gonna do like 20 over here, 20 over there, and that would be so inefficient. So did they do like 1,000 letter bulk drop off at like a major facility that was like 2 states from where they actually operated out of? See, that to me would be the more interesting part of this story. How did it work on the back end for you to get this? Like, how many letters got sent out? And then how many of what states did they originate from? What states down to what region? And then it's like, but is that actually in the area where the scammers are operating from? And or did they use middle people to actually like deliver the letters to the post office? That's just my brain, doing what it's doing, being scratched by like how this story worked on the back end. Because I believe in both of these cases of Treasure and Leisure, we were talking about like over 1 million each in terms of addresses and emails and like PII stuff. So each one of those breaches dropped a fair amount of names and addresses. But think about that though, like because everyone's so with the emails and phone calls, but when you got an actual physical letter, I was like, oh shit, they actually sent a physical letter. Now I gotta take it a little bit more serious. They sent out a letter. Like that's playing on human psychology right there. Anywho, if you're not aware, like, hey, this is one of the scams going on right now. Folks are getting these letters. Um, and yeah, I don't know if we'll actually hear anything about people getting caught and arrested, but I hope all y'all are, paying attention enough that you're not falling for these type of scams, or at least you're cross-checking and trying to figure it out. Like, is this a real thing? Let me call somebody. Let me ask some questions. Okay. So this is Wu Blockchain, one of the other Twitter channels I pay attention to. And this was real consensus out of Hong Kong for 2026. So I think that's like January into February it plays out. I would like to go to this 1 year. So let me read this for y'all. Hong Kong's consensus 2026 reflects weak sentiment, with many attendees expressing pessimism amid market sluggishness and AI rise. While traditional crypto narrative appear to be fading, speakers agreed the industry is evolving rather than ending. Institutionalization, compliance, payments, stable coins, derivatives, and AI integration were highlighted as potential next direction, signaling a transition phase rather than a collapse. So, where I'm going to go with this one is this is what I've been saying for like how long now. Those of us who were in the early, phase 1, phase 2 of the space, different mindset, different understanding, different ideals. Then you have the money bag folks come in, you have the bag chasers come in, you have the folks who, you know, they are coming in after all of the initial, or like the majority of the kinks got worked out in the space. They're coming in on the downslope of how the adoption curve is looking, where like legislation and governments is in their 2 hands and a foot, okay? And so that's what they know. They don't understand or even recognize that like there are things that we were able to do in the earlier days of the space that you can't do now because of how the platforms are set up, or like how the jurisdiction, the laws have changed now. And so you know it's just it's like it's like you looking at the car going, well, how do I change the tire? No, or how do I change the headlight? And it's like, well, of course you can't change the headlight on the Tesla. Like, it's not made like a OBS, F-150. Like, I can get in there. I can just, you know, unscrew this, unplug that, boom, headlight out. Uh, m- a lot of the people coming into the space now are coming into the space where it's the Tesla, and unless you actually have X amount of the technical skills and access to the proprietary technology or information set, you can't do the things that you were doing in a number of these crypto projects like how you could do it back in the day. And that's all these folks are really saying. Again, most of these folks who are at these events now, they're all the bag chasers. They're what do they call it? The merchant class. Like humans and history repeating itself in my book. In my book, that's what I see when I hear things like this. It's just us repeating ourselves. Um and how we are in terms of the finance folks are going to be the finance folks, the political power folks are going to be the political power folks, and they're going to move on how they move on. They're going to look to keep power. Folks are going to look to find ways how to make money on something, and screw the other stuff with the idealism. We don't care about it. That's just it it's such a defeatist and, like, at the same time annoying statement to be like, but that's just how it is. Like, annoying as shit to say it that way. It really is. Like, I don't think y'all have any idea how much it annoys me, um, when I have to, like, admit to certain things about how this space is playing out. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Um, but let me get through the rest of this stuff because I'm really not trying to be on this too long. I didn't even realize until a couple ago what time it is right now. Let me jump into you. All right, so this couple of these caught my eye too. GnGs blockchain, a Russian broker, Finom, has registered a crypto mining focused investment fund with Bank of Russia and plans to begin trading its shares in the coming days. The fund's mining infrastructure uses gas powered setup to supply energy for mining equipment. Again, so for the argument of mining is dead, is it really dead? And then on top of it, they're using gas. They're not going, well, it's not to say that they won't eventually get into solar power or other more quote greener energy sources. Um, but I do think it's interesting that out the gate they're starting with the gas. And again, if we're saying that the crypto mining um at scale size is going down, what is this then? Like what is this an indicator of on the global scale? Because if the companies here in the States are closing down or converting, some are closing because they're not big enough to maintain their operations, and they haven't been able to get any ins to the AI side, while others are just like, all right, we're just converting over, we already got the plug, we in there. But yet we see this happen. Or is this just some kind of fluff where, like, it sounds like they're going to get into it, but like once they actually do go public, the company might move into another sector and it might not stay crypto. I don't know. But I again, if you've been following me for how long now, I have been talking about Russia making slow moves into the crypto space for damn near 3 years, if not 4. But I've been saying this for a while. For all the talk we keep here, but not the talk that we keep having about Russia not being into crypto, about China not being into crypto, they're making their moves, but their moves look very, very different than how we do it here in the West. That's what that's my given takeaway and observation. It's not the same thing of how we do stuff in the West. We are over here. Well, no, we are over promising. We are definitely doing the hype train thing with it. And then, when nothing happens or things happen, but not the way we said it was going to happen, we just kind of move along with it. Just saying, I've been talking about this for years. Russia is doing stuff in the crypto space, but again, another woo blockchain joint. A couple of things happened, globally speaking. And again, like when I was looking through Twitter earlier, pretty much all of the stuff I seen was just like price talk related stuff. A business thing here and there, but it was still being turned back into a price conversation versus what does this partnership actually mean in terms of like how does it help real world issues, aside from that somebody could like bet or like do some kind of derivative on some kind of promissory note related to a crypto derivative related to a like that's a lot of the news shit right now. It's a lot of it. And I find it very draining and frustrating. So, getting into this, Malaysia pilot stablecoin and tokenized deposits. Interesting. Thailand allows digital assets as derivatives collateral. That's going to be interesting. Russia recognizes crypto as property. Kyrgyzstan crypto tax revenue surges. Of course it did. For the number of miners that they have out there. Japan advances stablecoin based security settlements. Japan is making headlines right now, and it's kind of it's gonna be crazy to see how crazy isn't the right word. There will be a lot of second guessing for how Japan makes it through the rest of this decade, considering what is going on with the new prime minister that just came in, some of the things that they're saying to China over Taiwan, as well as like how they are um, towing the line for in terms of their agreements with the U.S. It's going to be an interesting roller coaster, to say the least. And so, last but not least, I've seen this one. Arguably, this kind of is the one thing that I guess kind of interests me the most. And as King would say, it's a very big example of what's the thing called? Mass adoption. So this came out like last week over into the weekend about how X is going to offer crypto and Bitcoin trading to 1 billion plus users within a week. Product lead Nikita Bear confirms smart cash tags are launching within weeks, letting users track stocks and crypto directly from their timeline. So basically, Twitter is working to be a WeChat, and this is going to be one of the things in terms of the financial side, bringing that to the user base that is going to definitely put it in the WeChat super app realm. Now, that might be another thing. Like that'd be something else to figure out, I guess, or somebody else could do this. Like going on Twitter, find this post by Bull Theory. There's a couple of different other posts around this going down. So I guess the question turns into like how is this gamified? Because if you just use Twitter as the meeting place, like because basically Twitter's not going to actually conduct the trade and it's not going to do something else. But if it works as the meeting place for the interested parties, like there's money to be made in that for sure. Um, which then gets into like, will they eventually look to start listing crypto projects on Twitter as far as coins? Huh. Huh. Oh boy, the money grab is about to be the scams and the money grab is about to be real, my friends. On that note, I'm gonna say be safe because yeah, I just had a couple of thoughts just like run through my mind for like the gamification of this and what this will probably look like, let's say in 2 years. like this is going to move in on um Robinhood's market base. Like, I don't know what the odds are of the crossover of people who are on Robinhood also are on Twitter, but think about it. If you can already be in Twitter and still have access to the same financial products that are on Robinhood, why wouldn't you? Like, why not? Um, and then to put it on that, if you implement Grok and like you're looking at like how the market sentiment is going, granted, you get a certain you get a real time a near real time look at market sentiment because of how Grok works. But man, if you really playing like in trying to do like future run stuff, oh, I could see this. I could see this. If this don't catch on, I'll be surprised like how, Elon and his folks messed this up. But I could definitely see them eating into Weeble, Cash App, and Robinhood and Venmo and PayPal. Cause they all doing their version of stock stuff now. This is going to definitely eat into their user base. And we'll see how it work out. But other than that, that's all I got. As I said, I'm a little under the weather. So where am I going? I don't know how I'm gonna end up going forward with the channel in general is where I'm at right now. In that um I'm just very disheartened by what I see going on in the crypto space, one. And then two, I got another channel that I'm gonna end up launching soon enough, and that's called Sergeant Trek, which is not crypto related at all. That's more over on like the 2A side of the world, as far as content topics go, and that's gonna be a whole different thing. And I don't know how that's gonna work out. So I figure like I push a year in on that, 2 years on that, and see how it works out. Granted, for how I do the No Face channel now on this side with the crypto stuff, I don't know how much interference that will cause. I think the bigger thing that gets me right now is just it's just disheartening to see how the space is moving. Um, and so that whole being a unk in this realm of time with the space is just like, I'm not really feeling it. But it is what it is, like this is how the mass adoption looks. This is how it happens. Do we end up going via the way that Pirate Bay went, in that we had the phase of the companies that went through the legal battles, and like crypto is still here, they didn't shut it down, but like do we still get to keep the open access, the true economic sovereignty part of it? I don't know if I see it right now, but it doesn't mean that it won't happen. Because again, look at what's going on now with how streaming outside of the pay walled garden platforms is still a thing. Free streaming is still a thing. Just throwing that out there. And yeah, hopefully I'll be back next week. If not, I don't know, I might pop up on another day, something. We'll see. Nonetheless, as I have said to y'all in these closings, is that you be in a safe place, in a safe space, and a good company, and from one human to the next, that is the best that I can wish you. And so, yeah, it's a Monday. It was a President's Day. I think it was. Anywho, whatever you did, hopefully you were okay. You made it to the end. You woke up on the right side of the dirt today. And tomorrow's Tuesday, and you will do the same again tomorrow, right? It's another day to make it better, or like do it again. Other than that, as I say, yeah, one, folks. Do, do, do.
I'm Trek with 2Ks.